Things have been incredibly stressful lately, but now they're starting to go back to some semblance of normalcy, I guess you could call it, where I have been internalizing things strangely, I suppose, but also the way things that the world has been presenting to me have been problematic. So you end up in a situation where nothing seems like the right answer. And that usually, to me, says that it's about time to step back, rather than continue down this path which might not be right. I guess you could argue there's no one path, and there's no such thing as a right path in and of itself, necessarily. But I think certain paths can be more or less right than others for individual people. I'm starting to see that a path that I was choosing just to try it might not. It, granted, has opened up an extreme amount of opportunities and been an incredibly good growing experience for me, but I don't know that there's anything else for it to teach me at this point. And I would like to move on. It's because of it that I haven't been able to upload as regularly. And I am nothing if not a stickler for schedules. So I firstly detest not having a regular schedule. And secondly, I detest anything wanting to be the number one and saying that you cannot further yourself outside of it. And those are both qualities that this position share. So I am considering finding another position and or taking some time to not be in any position. Perhaps some time to examine what I truly believe in and what I truly want, as I am simply flitting from one thing to the next at current. What I would like is a position where I have a schedule. I know, ridiculous, isn't it? But also, more than that, I would like to have the ability to be helpful to people and to make people's lives better. And I guess you could argue any job has that quality, which is why I don't think this one is particularly noteworthy. But I think that there are more or less exceptions. And then also, I need to start being a little bit more selfish, I suppose you could call it, in that if I'm only doing another job because somebody else, or I think it's better for somebody else, and I'm being selfless with it, that's all well and good. But ultimately, I think everybody has more or less a calling or a purpose or something that they are meant to be doing. And I feel like there is definitely a very specific something that I'm meant to be doing. And I would like to be doing it. And I would like to be doing it because that way I could get better at it. I think that this recent attempt has taught me that I have the ability to not give up and to stick in there and to do all the things that I didn't think I was strong enough to do. And in so learning that, I believe that I may have learned that I could do the job that I was afraid of trying to do because I was afraid I would abandon it. Well, if I've learned anything from this job, it's that I can do anything I set my mind to as long as I actually set my mind to it. So, what do you do? I do what I want, for once, as opposed to doing what everyone else expects from me, or what I think everybody else wants. So I guess the main question ends up being, what do I want? What does anyone want? I want to study. I want to learn. I want to engage in the world. I want to examine things. I want to be able to further myself while still working. I don't know if that's a greedy want, but if it is, I guess I'm greedy. I want to be able to come home at the end of the day, exhausted but satisfied, and then be able to know that as I exist, as I continue to exist, I am following my desires rather than living for the desires of others, because ultimately the desires of others change, and if you're constantly relying on the whims of others, you'll be relying on something that will always be inconsistent, something that will never truly be able to be satisfied. And arguably, I may never be able to be satisfied in any position, any one position. But I think that that's why it's important to keep moving upward and keep furthering yourself, because ultimately you can end up creating something new in the world as you're advancing, as you're growing. I think that every human has a tiny spark of magic in them. And we sometimes maybe need a little bit of help finding it, or getting it out, or knowing what to do with it. But I don't think my voice can be heard where I am right now. And I want my voice to be heard. I want to be able to express who I am. I want to be able to be something that isn't shut behind a door or not known of by and large. As I am currently, I am something that, if my position goes all completely according to plan, I am taken for 100% granted. I am something that is a function that nobody even stops to think that it should be a thing that is thanked for. And that's fine, that's all well and good. But I want to be able to speak to people. I want to be able to impact them and help them help themselves. I want to be a person that people can rely on, that they trust, and that they know that if they come to me, I can help them. And you could say that once again, you could have that in any job, but there's a specific, very specific thing I wish to aim for. And at current, I could be at McDonald's and probably be happier than where I am right now, because at least at McDonald's they don't tell you that you can't further yourself, that you can't better yourself. In fact, they encourage it, last I checked. So does most quote-unquote menial jobs. They want to be the number one, but they would also want you to be able to further yourself. So, I don't want much. I want a simple job, gets me out of the house, doesn't necessarily have to pay very much, and allows me to continue furthering myself, because I am incredibly close it feels like a chapter has just ended. And it feels like I'm on the cusp of becoming something more than I have ever been before. But I suppose you could say that about everyone, couldn't you? And that any moment you are always going to be more than you were the day before, assuming you are constantly trying to self improve. I mean, not even necessarily actually improving, but trying. Because at least knowing that there's something that you want, knowing that there's something that should be changed, knowing that there's something that you want to work towards, is enough of a step forward sometimes for you to start making that change. It is a lot of the time, actually. We live in a world where your willpower is the manifestation of your desires, and you can create anything if you know how. And I wish to create. I wish to be the best me that I can be.